Dead Rails has officially released a new update. Yes, it's out, and technically it dropped yesterday. But before you get too excited, let me set the stage. Remember all those times we've talked about delays? About how the devs were supposedly working on a massive update, and then we'd hear from one of the devs, or from the official Discord, that it was being pushed back? Well, even after all that, what we actually got is something really underwhelming. The update added one thing that's immediately noticeable: a sprint bar. That's right, now you can actually see your stamina while running. On paper, that seems nice, and I won't deny it's a small quality of life improvement. But let's be honest here, that's basically it. There are maybe some minor bug fixes here and there, perhaps a tweak or two under the hood, but if we're talking about something to genuinely count as a meaningful update, this isn't it. And that's exactly why the community's reaction has been so intense. After weeks of waiting, after the anticipation, and all the hype surrounding the next major content drop, seeing an update that only introduces a sprint bar feels disappointing, to say the least. People were expecting new POIs, new trains, maybe even additional mechanics that could really shake up gameplay. Instead, the update was minimal, almost symbolic. And it's not just me saying this. Scroll through any of the Dead Rails community channels right now, and you'll see countless comments echoing the same sentiment. This isn't enough. Where's the real update? What's particularly interesting, and honestly a little concerning, is the effect this has had on player activity. Today, we noticed the online player counter spiked. Players logged in expecting a larger update, and when they realized what it actually included, you could almost feel the disappointment ripple through the community. Some players logged off immediately, and here's the thing: a portion of those players might never come back. Once hype dies and players feel misled, even unintentionally, there's a risk they won't return for the next update. This is a real concern because if the game keeps releasing underwhelming updates, the player base could gradually shrink. And history has shown us this happens all the time. Games with promising concepts, mechanics, or worlds can fail to sustain interest simply because updates were delayed or underwhelming. We've seen this in multiple projects where updates didn't arrive for months, and by the time they finally did, nobody cared anymore. Communities dispersed, excitement faded, and the projects were left in a state of limbo, sometimes disappearing entirely. I don't want to be dramatic, but it's a possibility here too. Dead Rails is in a precarious position. A dedicated community exists, the world and mechanics are engaging, and the core gameplay is solid. But if delays continue, if updates keep under-delivering, there's a chance that by the time the next substantial content comes, many of the players who have stuck around might already have moved on. And that's what keeps me cautious. I'm not panicking, but I'm definitely keeping a close eye on things. Now let's talk about why this feels so frustrating. The devs have been fairly transparent in the past. They've shared teasers, hints, and even occasional behind-the-scenes looks at upcoming content. They promised bigger updates, said certain mechanics were in development, and created this cycle of anticipation. But when those updates finally arrive and don't match expectations, even small things like a sprint bar, it feels almost like the hype was built on false promises. And when trust is eroded, even slightly, it takes a long time to rebuild. One thing that's been clear over the last several months is that the devs are capable. We've seen them release content that genuinely excites the community. Think about previous POIs, the introduction of new trains and limited-time events that actually shifted gameplay in noticeable ways. Those updates worked because they delivered something tangible. That's why this sprint bar update feels so underwhelming, and I know, it's not even an update, but still. It's a reminder that even a capable dev team can misjudge timing or fail to meet the community's expectations with these delays. I'm not hating on them though, I'm still going to wait for the update to drop, and I'm still playing this game. Still, I want to emphasize that there's hope. This is far from a game-ending situation. Dead Rails has plenty of room to grow, and small updates like this one don't erase the potential. If the devs continue to engage with the community, release updates, even small ones, regularly and gradually work toward larger features, the game can maintain momentum. But the key here is consistency and communication. The community needs to feel like progress is being made, even if it isn't revolutionary every week. Personally, while I'm still focused on Dead Rails, I'm also branching out into other content. I'm thinking about games like 99 Nights in the Forest, which has that immersive, atmospheric style I love exploring. I want to mix things up a bit, so if you have ideas for other games or content you'd like me to cover, drop them in the comments. This way, we're not just waiting around for Dead Rails updates. We're exploring other experiences as well, keeping the content fresh. But back to Dead Rails. I want to make it clear that this small update is both a disappointment and a learning moment. Players are reacting the way anyone would after a long wait. There's frustration, there's skepticism, but I don't know. We've talked in past videos and previous discussions about how a game's success relies not only on mechanics, but on community trust, timing, and the perception of growth. And right now, the perception is shaky. The sprint bar is small, but it's a start. I'm cautiously optimistic that the devs are preparing something bigger behind the scenes, and hopefully the next update delivers in a way that genuinely excites the community. It's also worth noting the delay. When updates underdeliver, it's not just disappointment, it's a sense of lost opportunity. Some may stop logging in out of frustration, others may continue but with lower engagement, and this can snowball if not addressed. That's why I'm keeping a close eye on online numbers, community sentiment, and the pace of future updates. The sprint bar alone isn't enough to sustain long-term interest, but it's a signal that the devs are still moving forward. At the same time, guys, please, it's important not to panic. We're not at a point where the game is in danger of dying immediately. There's still a strong foundation, a loyal player base, and plenty of room for innovation. I mean, look at the numbers, even though the game had no update in a month. But the risk is real, and the next updates will be crucial. They need to be meaningful, visible, like something big, and deliver on the community's expectations to prevent the same pattern we've seen in other projects. Months of delay, minimal content, dwindling interest, and eventual decline. So, in summary, the update is out, yes, but it's minimal. A sprint bar, minor bug fixes, maybe a few tweaks here and there. Not what most of us expected after months of delay and anticipation. Player numbers spiked, then potentially dipped, reflecting community disappointment. There's a real concern that if updates continue in this pattern, the game could see a decline in active engagement. But there's still hope. The devs have the tools, the mechanics are solid, and if they deliver a meaningful update soon, the community can bounce back. Meanwhile, I'm exploring other content as well, trying to keep things interesting for everyone. Games like 99 Nights in the Forest are on my radar, and I want to hear your suggestions too. Anyway, that's it for today. The update is here technically, but man, I'm honestly Okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to be optimistic. I mean, if we look from the good side, the sprint bar is nice, but it's not enough to sustain hype on its own. We'll see what comes next, and hopefully the next update brings the kind of content the community has been waiting for. Until then, keep playing, keep speculating, and stay engaged. I'll be back soon with more thoughts, more updates, and maybe even some new games to explore. Thanks for watching, and let's hope the devs pull through.